In progress.
There we go.
The poem again. As Robert Bly said, well, now we know the bones of the poem. Let's hear its heart. Listening in the mountains north of Santa Cruz. High on the ridge above Big Basin, I met Coyote stepping briskly along the road. Eyes bright, tail straight, looking nor left nor right. And it came to me that somewhere higher on a bald stone knob, lolling in the sun, the spirits of the generations were yet stitching with the soft basket of the woman and the blunt needle of the man, one people to the next, all along the river of their being. We are called to listen like Coyote far across dark hills for the whimper and tender wail of our own kind, and then to seek through thicket and gully, to meet, to play, to mate, to make cubs, to teach those cubs to mark the secret path. We are called to read the fine print in dust left by beetle and centipede, to trace the scent thread of instinct that tells us where we need to go. So I went down the road into the trees and found by visceral luck campsite 170. That fallen redwood husk, that castle stump and hollow place to hide, that fire ring with glistening charcoal where in the spring of 1957, late at night by firelight, my father reached his hand toward the ridge and said, "Is that Coyote? Listen." One people to the next, all along the river of their being. Here we are, my friends, the living edge of life. We carry the code, and we who have the great good fortune to meet the Buddha participate in the evolution of consciousness, in the awakening, the great awakening. We've already made the action of respecting Sangha, community, by coming together. For some of us, it's relatively easy, the morning people. For others, it's really hard, and I honor you. So, friends, let us follow the ancient way. Take a comfortable, upright posture. And as it says in the Satipatthana Sutta, the meditator goes to a quiet place, a place in the woods or an abandoned house, abandoning covetousness and grief concerning the world, letting go of the past and future. Taking a comfortable, upright posture, and placing mindfulness before them. They observe in-breathing and out-breathing. They notice that each in-breath has a beginning Each out-breath has a beginning. In fact, each thought has a beginning. Each sound has a beginning. Each sensation has a beginning. And because it has a beginning, it has an ending. How intimate can we become with the breathing? And let's even put the word breathing aside. How close can awareness come to the tissues in the chest and abdomen, or at the nostrils? This breath and this moment have never existed before. There's a somewhat charming, in a way, old Zen story about the monk who goes to the Roshi and says, this paying attention to breathing is really boring. And the Roshi grabs him and puts him into some water that's nearby and holds his head underwater for a long time. And then a bit later, he says something about breathing's pretty important and interesting, isn't it? So let us attend to this breath as though our life depended on it. Let us attend to this breath as though it was the ultimate grace. And so it has a beginning, a rising to fullness, a pause, a change of direction, a decline, and then a vanishing. That's all. The 5 hindrances may well appear. And we may become quite convinced for a while. They seem so real. Desire, wanting, craving, disliking, aversion, pushing away, hating, restlessness, agitation, worry, sloth and torpor, sleepy dullness, and doubt. Doubt in oneself, doubt in the practice, doubt in life, really. And mindfulness, heart-mind fullness, comes from vastly deeper than any of these disturbances on the surface. And we sit here comfortably upright, observing the show, observing how it is to be a human being living through a lifetime in this moment. Our bodies are part of the earth. We come out of the earth. Conditions create phenomena. We put in some fertilizer and compost. We pull the weeds, we add water, the sun. We strengthen certain mental factors, among them mindfulness, the mysterious capacity of, and we become quite diligent, Pali or Sanskrit. We translate it as meditation. Somehow, mysteriously, mindfulness shines through the foes. Oh, wandering mind. And then one now. And so there is a in the cultivation of our garden of awakening, we bring other factors to bear as well, mental factors. We cultivate equanimity, which is the extraordinary ability to be with whatever is arising exactly as it is. Sometimes the mind is very quiet and concentrated, and sometimes it's pretty wild. Sometimes there are attacks of self-hatred or hatred or fear, hopelessness, loneliness, giddiness. But none of them are a problem. They're just the weather of a human mind. And with equanimity, we remain our stable spot. Oh, look, here's a raucous mind right now. Not a problem. in addition to paying loving attention to in-breathing and out-breathing, it's also skillful to notice the general outlines of the experience of the moment. Is this sitting here, resting in the present moment, mostly pleasant or mostly unpleasant? Or are there moments of pleasant and moments of unpleasant? Is the mind mostly calm or mostly unsettled? Is it a mind that has wanting? Or a mind that's rather content? Is it a mind that's pretty quiet or full of chatter? The great Thai forest master, Ajahn Chah, said that in any moment that you want to bring your practice into perfect balance, simply remember, this moment is like this. It's like this. And we cultivate an attitude of profound love and acceptance. It's a huge relief to have a moment or 2 moments or many moments of abandoning the self-improvement journey. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. In this moment, in fact, we might even repeat the words, I love you, with your name at the end. I love you, you're already okay. I love you, it's okay to rest. It's okay to just be the awareness that you are right now. And when I'm hurting, no matter how I'm hurting, whether it be pain in the body or pain in the heart, pain in the emotional realm, existential pain. It is my intention to hold myself in sweet compassion. Love and compassion. Two beautiful flavors of human consciousness. And we live our lives as part of the web of life. What we do in our own consciousness already affects all beings. How could it not? And so when we say, may all beings share in the merits of our practice, we are, in a way, just acknowledging what already is. And so we bring peace to the world that needs peace. We bring love to the world that needs love. We bring mindfulness to the world that needs mindfulness. May all beings share in the merits of our practice. This is the robertbeatty.com website. This beautiful old growth tree is about 40 miles from my home here. It's up on the Salmon River Trail. This is the Breitenbush River. Just want to remind you about retreats. Hollyhock is coming up May 29th through June 3rd. I'll be there with Don McEachern, who's here on the screen with us. Breitenbush is full, but you could get on the waiting list there if you'd like. That's going to be an all PIMC retreat. In July, I'll be in Germany with Frank later, and then again in September at Hollyhock. And if you've never done this, I encourage you, come to the website, scroll down this. Oh, here's my book. There you can take a look at Mindfulness for a Happy Life. But these interviews are actually quite interesting, I think, The interviewers did such a great job. And here's, if you want to watch YouTube, like this morning's meditation will be there. There's selected guided meditations here, and this is just the Dharma talks. And then, but I wanted to show you, if you keep going here, this is a wonderful thing. I showed it about a week ago in the morning. It's a very powerful video, audio presentation I created with Sam Forench, who's an amazing photographer. And I guess I should remember this, that our intention is to open. Our first Sunday opening will be April the 3rd. More information will come out on that, of how to register in advance and so on. We are going to, of course, be following some COVID protocols, limiting numbers and so on. The weekend before that, on the Saturday, there's going to be a work party. And I invite you to sign up on the volunteer list, which is on the portlandinsight.org website. And last but not least, it's funny saying last but not least, this practice rests in dana, in generosity, in this action, relinquishing. And PIMC runs completely on your generosity. And I thank you to everyone who has an ongoing contribution in particular. And if you haven't, I encourage you to see what it would be like to go to the website, find one of the links. There's several. You can find the link for this class. That's a little helpful, knowing where the money comes from. But and then sit there for 5 minutes or so and think about it. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? How important is this to me? I did that almost every time, all those years I was going to see Ruth Denison and going to retreats. And I would sit there with my checkbook for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then the act of writing the check it became a sacred act, really. It wasn't just, well, here, I'll get this out of the way. It was, so here's something, and I'm willing to stretch because it's really good for me to stretch. In fact, at my wedding, I was there with Ruth and Jennifer, and she patted my head and said, "This one was always very generous. After I no longer needed any money, she and Henry bought a house in the Hollywood Hills overlooking the Hollywood sign and the lake, and they paid nothing for it in the late 50s, I think, and then of course it became worth a lot." And so when she sold that, she really had enough money for the rest of her life. And she patted me and said, "But I let him keep doing it because I knew it was good for him." And it was. So there's many ways to give to PIMC. One way is to come and help. And another is to make a contribution, a one-time contribution or a regular, a monthly one. Or, I always forget this one, it's part of denial, I think. Or you could be sure to add in your will some bequest to PIMC as part of your gift to the future. So, I think that's enough. Thank you.
And there's also
Jim,
candles,
is there... I'm not hearing you. Are you speaking? I've got to adjust something here so I can hear. Go ahead, please.
We're also
go ahead.
advertising Candles Retreat on the 2nd of April. And hang on a minute. I'll see if I can find that write up. She's offering a retreat called Working with Difficulties, Cultivating Joy and Calm. At this point in time, it's very important for us to remember how to quiet down and look inside and find that still point inside. So she's going to look at how to handle emotional difficulties in your practice, where to notice joy and ease, and how to nurture calm in the practice of mindfulness and seeing clearly. So that's the announcement from Candles, April 2nd.
Thank you, Jim. All right, so explorers of life and the world, what are you discovering? I think I should give a time check. I need to leave at 8:05 today.
Good morning, Sangha. This is Jamie.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello. I just wanted to share that last night was the conclusion of Doug Pullen's Basics of Mindfulness course. And boy, that was really something. Like the whole thing was just amazing. So if that comes up again and you have the opportunity to do it, I really suggest it because it was time very well spent.
Doug is a very wise human being. We sit on committees together and good friends. And he's quieter. He's much quieter than me. But whenever he begins to speak, I always stop. Because what's about to be said is careful, is thoughtful, and has a very broad base and depth in Dharma. Quite something. We met when he was 21 and I was 27, and he went to India on a Lewis and Clark overseas program that I was the co-leader on. We've known each other ever since.
I'll share a little bit if it's
Hi, Aaron.
not not to break the beautiful silence, which is really so lovely. So, good morning.
Hi.
So I experienced with mindfulness the sleepy dullness in a way I haven't quite experienced it before. So I mean, I think I must have probably been on the verge of nodding off. It was actually slightly amusing because I realized that I just like all awareness of my body was just sort of becoming very fuzzy and cut off. And at some point, the thought appeared in my head of, I don't know if I'm wearing socks or not. So such an amusing thing to notice it in that way. Um, and how with sleepy mindfulness, with sleepy dullness, how mindfulness just, the lights dim, and how fascinating to just sort of pop into, like, for to have that, that where does it come from, where does the awareness of it come from, but just to have that arrive, that, you know into my consciousness, like, oh, that's what that was. So it was fascinating. So
So sloth and torpor become an object of observation.
yeah, associated with sloth and torpor, I mean, especially think of our school systems, and wake up, pay attention, and all the stuff that sort of comes along with,
Right.
very, very, very heavy judgment laden experience. So fascinating just to observe it, like, oh, well, this is a life, I mean, sort of market, so
It's helpful.
yeah.
I have a piece of show and tell here I'm going to be self-indulgent with, and I hope the sound works. If it doesn't, it's okay. What I did on my vacation in Costa Rica, here we go. It's about a 50-foot drop. This is not the zip line. This is called the Tarzan swing. And they don't have any sophisticated method of slowing you down. They grab your feet as you go by. It's kind of rough. There's my self-indulgence. I did bungee jumping a couple of times a few years ago. This was not as smooth by any means. So,
I think I have one more thing to add to my sharing.
go.
So just in, just also observing, we make ourselves more accident prone by the practice and the dharma, right? And sort of
I
coming to
mean,
it and
the
spending time
accident,
with it.
the accident of waking up, not accident
Yes.
prone in terms of the car, and yeah.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. The accident proneness of waking up. And I think that you said something yesterday in the discussion of liking and disliking, that how, okay, so we dislike the feeling of sleepiness, right? So, but that's the body trying to lead us to what it needs, which is rest. So,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it that way, a body needs rest. So, anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
I think that was just that. I think that was probably just really critical for me to have the experience I had today. So just, I don't know, it just reminds me that, um, coming and pulling in what I can in the moment, it just helps an internal sort of building that the waking up, the process of waking up helps cultivate it. So
Well, and now that you have seen sloth and torpor as an objective event, that's about 90% of the battle. And I predict that before long you will be able to watch sloth and torpor arise and disappear, or you'll fall into it, and then consciousness will emerge out of it, and that you'll begin to fight it less and less and less till you don't fight it at all. And you realize it's an impersonal phenomenon like the weather, and it waxes and wanes on its own schedule. So
not necessarily with the school bells or whatever other obligations.
Not at all.
So yeah, it felt like kind of like saying it and sharing it felt like putting a little bit like a label on a plant that you just identified in the garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I better if I put a label on this now while I have it identified, then I won't have to go through the wait for the accident-prone identifying quite as much later. I'm sure it will still be a mystery, but yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this sharing. So it's a fascinating process. So.
Well, is there anything else? One more person who has something to say? Tomorrow afternoon, many of you followed the journey of my little dog Budo, who used to click around here and rattle his collar, who passed away but I buried him in such a way that with a plan, I'm going to plant a dogwood tree on top of him. And so tomorrow afternoon, I'm going with a friend to a nursery to get I want to try to get it tomorrow afternoon. So I will look for you on Sunday if you care to join us then at 10 o'clock, and then all things being functional, Monday morning again. Thanks for being here. Did we mention? Oh, we didn't mention. Maybe you did, Jim, in my absence. The Be Queer Now group on Sunday night. Did that get mentioned?
No, I missed that.
You want to say a little word about that, Birch?
Sure. It's a lovely group. That's about 15 to 20 of us. Good morning, everybody. Hi. It's really been lovely. Leanne led our last session. So we're looking at a shared and rotating leadership between somebody who's leading a meditation for half an hour, and then a facilitated discussion. It's really been a month of developing our own culture of mindfulness. It's really been exquisite. So if you're curious, questioning, identify as LGBTQ+, please pop in and say hello.
Thanks. All right. Let's sing our way out of here. Bhavatu Sabhe Mangalam. May all beings be happy and share in all blessings. Bhavatu Sabhe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabhe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabhe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Happy trails, dear friends.